Well, welcome, guys, and welcome everyone to another Twitter Spaces hosted by Morningstar Ventures. Today, we will actually once again explore the topic of Web3 gaming, and we're going to see how it has changed over the past year, which will be interesting, especially given the recent market conditions. And to join us to talk about this topic, we have Sami, the CEO of Cross the Ages, Leo, the founder of Style Protocol, and the Big Brawler, the CEO of Bit Brawl. So before we get started with our round of introductions from our speakers, I'm your co-host Naini, and co-hosting with me is my colleague Peter. And for those of you who are new, we usually leave a little bit of time at the end of the session for any live audience questions. And if you do have any questions during the whole entire session, you are also welcome to write those in the comments section, and we can read those out loud at the end. All right, let's get started then with a round of introductions from our guests today. Welcome again. If you guys could really briefly introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more on what you're working on in the crypto space. Sami, why don't you go first?
Here we go. Happy to be with you today. So my name is Sami. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cross the Ages. I come from the gaming industry, spent more than 13 years in the field, owner of many studios in different countries, Japan, England, France, Hungary, and Brazil, and we release more than 50 video games for console like Nintendo, Sony, Xbox. And we start Cross the Ages in end of 2020. The idea for us was not to create a game, but to create the whole IP, a whole brand, a whole universe. And super excited to being able today to be share our insight and our experience and what we've built for almost 3.5 now.
Nice, thanks, Sami. Bit Brawl, why don't you go next?
Hey guys, thanks for having us. My name is the Big Brawler. I'm the CEO and founder of Bit Brawl. We started off as an NFT project / game back in 2021, and that's where we are today. Our game Bit Brawl is a platform fighting game like Super Smash Brothers, and the cool thing about us is that you can play the game as your favorite NFT projects like D-Gods, Mutant Apes, Neo Tokyo, Ozuki, Pudgy Penguins to be added, and Steady Stack, and some other cool Ethereum and Solana projects. And we're launching our token next week.
Nice. Already got some nice announcements going on. Leo, last but definitely not least, could you give us a quick introduction?
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. So about myself personally, I've been an entrepreneur for a couple of years, started in Web 2. After a first small exit, moved to crypto. That was around 4 years ago, initially with a fashion NFT marketplace. And 2 years ago, I started Style Protocol. It's an infrastructure layer and protocol that aims to connect virtual worlds, games, and metaverses to make in-game assets actually cross-functional across different gaming environments, and NFTs usable in set 3D environments.
Great, thanks a lot for your introductions, and we are going to dive a little bit into your projects later on into the roundtable. But to kick off the discussion, so as we said earlier, right, we're a little bit in happier market conditions these days. It's looking a lot greener, and with that being said, we can all imagine that probably the gaming market is a little bit different. So from your points of views, as we approach this new cycle, what do you think is different about the gaming space this time around than the previous cycle? Bit Brawl, do you maybe want to kick it off?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've been around for the past 2.5 years, so I can answer the question. So basically, previous cycle, we were kind of piggybacking off Axie Infinity as the whole gaming industry. And there was Axie, the best game, and everyone just hopped on the hype train, and they were all creating play-to-earn games. But the problem is game development takes a lot of time, and there weren't many or hardly any games in the market. So right now, I think it's still not the prime time for gaming yet, because top games take 4 or 5 years to build. And I think crypto needs something like that to kind of act as a catalyst. But at least we have some really decent games, and we're starting to see some growth and user acquisition. And I think a lot of people also learn from their past mistakes. Now users can also understand tokenomics and understand that if a game is a Ponzi or not. So I think we've come too far so far, but we still have a lot of time to make sure that Web3 gaming doesn't exist and it's just called gaming. So it's almost indistinguishable from Web2 gaming. So I think it's going to happen in the next couple of years.
Sami, Leo, do you guys want to chime in there?
Yeah, it's. I will be happy, to continue. Like Bit Brawl was saying, it's correct. He's completely right when he say that a good game, took time, and it took like a long time because like you have first, the GDD, the game design document to develop, and then you have to start like with iteration, and then you have like to change the iteration. And the thing very important, it's not just creating a game, it's to create a game where like this game will work for the web 2 and also for the web 3. So you have like so many new things coming that you need like to be sure that this gonna fit, and this not gonna be like too much like complicated for the people, and like created like the best way to onboard the people. Also about like all the part of the token economics, it's completely true. What was acceptable in 2021 is not anymore. For example, if you take an FDV now, when you see like the people, what was like okay, like whatever the amount, like they just like launch a token, like doing like multiple X. People now are having like a knowledge, and like they know that you need like to be sure that this gonna fit and don't have like a kind of new Ponzi system. I believe like there are a huge limit, on what we call the play to earn. The play to earn is a mechanic where like it's like a kind of job, and we really need like to have like all these kind of model like play and earn, where like people are enjoying trying to have like the best experience. And this is exactly what we're trying to do, to create a multiple experience, and like to being able to onboard people. It's not like an easy way, however, like it's really exciting to see that we are on the good time now, and being able to have like a lot of progress. So yeah, this is my point for this question.
I sit a little bit on a different fence there, and I will say this just for the sake of the discussion. I think what the I don't know the name, the speaker from Bit Brawl has said is definitely true in terms of good games just take time to develop, and we will still need another 1 to 2, maybe 3 years for the really good games to be out there. With regards to people in this cycle being more aware of FTVs and Ponzi tokenomics, I don't know. I mean, from what we've seen just for the last 1.5 months, without wanting to throw shade on like SocialFi gaming projects, but I'm not sure if people have grasped the concept of like proper valuations yet compared to what they would be in a Web2 gaming environment. I mean, from what we've seen, if you are to compare projects that are launching here with tokens in Web3, in terms of FTV, which is basically company valuation, to a similar game from an equity environment in Web2, there's still a huge gap in between that's not really justifiable in my personal opinion. And I know this sucks to say because we're also launching our own token, but I think I guess my point is there's still a lot of education to be made, and a lot of people to come in for the space, a lot of people to come into the space truly for the gaming experience and the fun, and not for the financial gain. And there's still a lot of imbalance with projects marketing financial gain and rewards over actual gameplay. And I hope I'm not going to get too much hate for saying this, but I think that's kind of where we are, unfortunately, still.
Thank you, Leo, for the...
Oh. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Leo, for the interesting point, and it moves us to the next question. Especially, it's relevant for Cross the Ages and Bit Brawl. How do you guys balance actually between elements of fun, elements of like real gaming experience, and elements of financial rewards and crypto elements. Why people like crypto games, because you can play and earn, and you can amplify your crypto knowledge, your DeFi knowledge, your NFT knowledge into gaming process.
I can start if you want. Being able, to find a good way, to create the fun, it's not easy. We're still looking, to create it like a lot of fun, for our user. The reality is, they are not like a special potion, to help you, to do that. You need like to made iteration, and like to be sure that step by step you're gonna be able, to onboard more and more people. The only way, for us is to trying, always, to go deeper, and it depends, the kind of game that you created. For example, our first experience is a card gaming. The card gaming is a way, to onboard people and like to put them like and push them into the reflection. We announced, we're gonna announce like soon in a video like our second game called Arise. This is like an open world, completely different, where people can have like easily much more fun, when they used to play to this kind of game. So the idea is to be sure that step by step to being able, to don't lose people with too much information. And it's always, the limit between, how you can onboard people, how you're gonna give them enough information, but not too much, and like give them the ownership and do that, like an easily way, and to find like the good UX, the good, way to, and to get, system, to onboard them. So it's always, that I don't know if someone like found, the key. I'm not talking about like copy and paste another game, but just trying to find, a way, to onboard. And I think that's it's why, we need time to being able, to continue like many experience, to being able, to have like one of the good way to onboard people from Web 2 to Web 3, for example, and being able, to have like a more and more user acquisition.
Cool. Very interesting. Thank you, Sami. Um, do you have something to add from Bit Brawl side?
Yeah, I think I agree with Sami there, because it depends on the game. It's also about how you structure things. But if I were to speak about Bit Brawl, our goal was to focus on esports. And since Bit Brawl is a fighting game, we decided to make things very sustainable by just adding a wagering model to our ranked and tournament modes. So basically, if you and I are fighting, you pay some Brawl tokens, I pay some Brawl tokens, and the winner gets it all. And we take a small platform fee. I think this is the only sustainable ways. The worst part is not everyone can make money, but I think with having a casual mode, which is free to play and just for fun, you can attract people who just want to have fun. And by adding a lot of different NFT characters, we plan to make it even more fun for Web3 people, because what we realized is most gamers don't like NFTs, and most NFT or crypto people don't play games. So you need to find a balance somehow. But when it comes to token mechanics, I think every game is different, and one of the coolest ways in our game, for our specific plan, is the wagering model.
Cool, very interesting. We'll definitely go deeper into the NFTs and different models of the Bit Brawl. And then I want to ask Leo a more product centric question. That Style Protocol aim is to make NFTs interoperable, and that's a definitely huge driver for many projects, whether it's gaming, art, or social fi related. Could you please tell us a bit more what you think of the future of NFTs in gaming in this concept, and how it will look like and how it will match players' digital identities for gamers who can use it in different open worlds or in different metaverses. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I just quickly wanted to say to the guys from Bit Brawl, and also to kind of reiterate my previous position, so I will get invited to spaces again, that I think what you were saying with some people can make money, but not everyone can make money. This sounded very good to me, because I think the this like play to earn and having this monetary incentivation and asset ownership and all of these stuff in Web3 and on chain, like this is beautiful. I just get very worried and my skin crawls a little bit when I hear, oh, everyone that plays can make money. Because when everybody plays and everybody can make money when playing, that means that everybody only plays to make money, and that just you don't have to be genius to see that that's not super sustainable. But when you say some people, that sounds very healthy, and I'm gonna definitely look into Bit Brawl more myself. To your question, Peter, yes. So what we do with the infrastructure protocol style is to aim to make virtual assets interoperable, and I just think this makes sense on a macro level. So when I look at this whole space and I look at gaming as a whole, I believe we're at a point in time from a human-centric level that we're going to get into a decade of more and more immersive experiences, whether it is on-chain, in 2D, card games, Axie Infinity, or whether it is metaverses in 3D, whether it is Zoom spaces, whether it is actual 3D games like Fortnite or multiplayer games. More and more stuff is coming. VR headsets are coming, AR experiences, and more 3D worlds are emerging. The market is becoming more clustered. I don't think, very simply speaking, it is I just don't think it's long-term feasible for people to have their own wardrobes and their own assets in every different virtual environment. Yes, people will purchase assets specifically for virtual environments and games, but they're not going to create an entire Rolodex, an entire wardrobe in one virtual environment. So I think there's going to be a huge demand and a clear problem to solve for virtual assets being usable across those different environments. And it's a very tricky thing because environments are on different blockchains in Web3. They are on different 3D engines. They are with different. They're created with different rigs and just different styles, which is why our project is called Set Protocol, because we aim to restyle them long term across these different virtual environments. And it's a tricky thing, and it's probably a market that's not going to be a one size solution fits all because there's so many different players. It's going to be a market, I believe, with a couple of big players that end up being infrastructure provider, kind of like telecommunication. In every major nation or continent, you have one or two or three communication infrastructure providers that people choose from when they get their mobile devices. And I think it's going to be the same for virtual asset infrastructure.
Great, thanks for going deeper into that, Leo. And I think also if staying on the topic of NFTs and using them across your game, Bit Brawl, you were explaining at the beginning that you have a lot of NFTs that can be used in your game. And with what Simon was saying, how has this actually helped the growth of your game, and what have you seen in terms of also your community?
A really good question. So one of the best model of application for us it's the trading card game, because you will need like a very high number of cards, and we created a system where like you need cards or digital card first. You can merge them like a Pokemon to have like an alternative version, and then you can mint them, to have like your ownership. Today, it's like more than 30 million digital assets that you have in Cross the Ages, with more than 2.7 million NFT. And the thing very interesting, it's to see like the utility of the NFT. Indeed, you will have like a part where like the asset will go down, and it's always like that, after collection, but it go up with the time. And like we want, and we're gonna create it like another experience where you have like a real interoperability. What Leo was saying before, like I'm 100% okay with that when he say that you can't create a game like you can't have asset that working in all the game. It's not possible, and it's not sustainable. So the idea is to have like a whole universe. Imagine that the universe of Cross the Ages, you can cross different NFT, and being able to use some NFT from one game to another game, and like to allow the people to win time on the progression. And the idea, when you do that, you will have like more and more people coming, and like more and more people will need like this kind of asset. So with the time, it just will grow up the utility of the asset, and give like a price more and more sustainable day after day. You also have like some system that we put, for example, every 6 months we created a new collection, and like every collection is mintable just for 1 year. After this year, you can't mint any kind of NFT of collection. And indeed, for the collection, it's just buying. You can only buy that, for 6 months. That means that it's what's gonna happen. Imagine you have like a supply initially, of let's say 10 million digital card. It's 1 million token because you have 10% of that. And then after the 1 year, people start like to continue to merge the cards. You will have 900k, 800k, 700k, and more. The time will come, and more people will burn the card because they need to have like alternative card and like some other stuff. So it will reduce the supply, and more the supply will be reduced, and more the price will go higher, and more people will come, and more the interest will go higher and higher. So it's all like system and mechanic to allow the people first to become owner of the asset, to push them to explain them that everything they have, they have it for the long term, and that if sometime you see like it's going down, it's going after up. And when we see like the market in the first collection on OpenSea, you can definitely understand that in less than 1 year and a half, the progression is really, really high, even in the bear market. So it's really interesting to understand like the curve and the life of the asset. And this is for across the ages.
Yeah, great. And you also had a couple of various announcements, right? So your collaboration with Ubisoft with its franchise Watch Dogs. What was this collaboration like, actually? And is it going to? Can we expect any more of these types of partnerships?
Yes. So this is what we call a spin-off. So it's not like a partnership of like just Web2, Web3. It's much more than that. It's when I say spin-off, it's a side story of Cross the Ages. Imagine that you have the timeline and the history of Cross the Ages, but like something gonna happen, and you will have involved like 24 character from Watchdog coming into like Cross the Ages in different parts. And the thing very interesting is we created a whole collection of asset of cards. Why it's very interesting? It's because like the supply is first reduced, but like it's really interesting to bring many people, from the licenses of Watchdog coming into your universe, because the cards are not just taking some cards from another universe. It's everything was designed with the element, with the pants, hoodies, hat, everything. It will be changed, by the cloth of character in Cross the Ages. And the thing very great, it's this interoperability and this way to reach people can be like something pretty massive, because indeed it will bring a lot of people from the web 2 and like to created like a lot of knowledge about Cross the Ages. And this is very good for an IP for us, because like it's still a young IP, and we just have 3 years. When you have an IP like Watchdog, like more than 13 years with more than 40 million players to the different game, you can be sure that you will have like many people will want to discover the universe of Cross the Ages, and also to become maybe owner of some asset that's completely exclusive to this universe. So yeah, this is like a really great step for us, and super exciting time starting like the 3 April.
Thank you, Sami. We're definitely looking forward for more closer collaborations of and spin-offs from Cross the Ages. And we already discussed during this conversation
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
a lot of important questions around NFTs, such as interoperability, financial mechanics around NFTs, and also we touched the topic of ownership. Leo, Sami, and you especially touched it a few times. And my question is, how really is ownership important for mass Web2 audience, and how this concept of ownership should be presented to people who have no clue about NFTs, blockchain, and means and everything, and why this concept of ownership is so important. And I think this question is relevant for both three guests. And Bit Brawl, why don't you go first?
Absolutely. So, first of all, congrats, Sami and Cross the Ages team. I played Cross the Ages and I finished all three Watch Dogs games. I absolutely love them. First one was the best, but I love all of them. And I never thought I would see it in a card game, but here we are, and I think it's pretty exciting. And when it comes to the question, I think a lot of people, yes, a lot of people are still at the top of the funnel. They don't know anything about NFTs. All they know is it's a fancy word for some scam. So that's the perception in their mind. And I think in order to educate them about asset ownership, we need to get rid of that image in their mind first. So, and I think this will happen with time, because when you take a look at, in the dot-com bubble, people called all the websites and the internet a scam. And as time passed, people understood the real value of it. So I think ownership is going to be a big deal in the next decade or so. And companies, especially games like Roblox and the Sandbox, are already trying to get people to become not only gamers, but also creators. And I think ownership will come into play when it comes to that. And we will see more and more games farming their users, I would say. So they're not only users, but also creators. And that's a good thing, because that also unlocks a lot of earning potential for a lot of people as well. So we need time. We need to create great games. And I think we should have such great games that people would willingly want to have an NFT in the game. And I think all it takes is like a game like World of Warcraft. Still they have accounts selling on eBay for like thousands of dollars. We just make it simpler with Web3. And as the blockchain grows and as games get better and people lose that stigma of all NFTs are scams, I think we will get there. And our job is to just keep pushing until that happens.
Sami and Leo, do you have anything to add to what Bit Brawl just said?
I think the time, is like what we all need, like this time, to being able, to change, the mindset. And for like most of the people, like from the Web 2, the Web 3 is really scammy, is like, just a way, to take more money, from for user. The reality is like this ownership, is a real game changer, and I really believe that this is a game changer. For the one time, you're not just putting your money in a game that you never get back. You have like now the way, to say, okay, this is mine, and whatever I want to do with it, this is mine. And like this is a real game changer. We really believe that when people will understand that what they have, like a kind of power they have in their hand, it can be like really great. Indeed, what we need to be sure that the sustainability of the product and the project in front, because like if you invest, whatever the amount of money like this, like will just crush, like you invest, but like whatever you're gonna get back, it's gonna be like stupid. So all the thing is to being able, to have like great and big and huge foundation, and not like only focus on, for example, one experience. And this is exactly what we really want, to share, with the people. Like it's not one game, it's like a whole ecosystem, a whole universe. And since, we're gonna be able, to get more and more people and more incentive, from people, and more this is going to be possible. But like the reality is we're just missing some time, and when we'll have this time, it's going to be like easier. But like it's just a question of adoption, as we've seen, in internet and the bubble of internet. And this is exactly the same condition. So we just have, to be patient and see like big player coming, and this will help a lot. Because like when tomorrow you will have like a epic game, you will have like some huge publisher will come, and like Ubisoft just announced, an experience of Web3. More you will have publisher coming into this space, and more it will give us more credibility.
Great, thanks, Sami and Bit Brawl for that. And I think what we can do now is move a little bit on to the building of community. And Leo, I'm actually quite curious to hear, I think from a gaming perspective, communities are always very, very strong and people really follow the game. But how are some of the ways that you guys are building a community around Style Protocol, and what are some of the challenges that you faced with that?
Yes, good question. Hits home, and I will transparently admit community building is something that we struggle with a little bit because it's an infrastructure layer, and we work with some games, and we see games that are building their communities around, IP, maybe an NFT collection, a certain aesthetic, which is arguably a little bit easier than it is for us because if you are wanting to become a good infrastructure provider, the way I see it, infrastructure is not necessarily supposed to be super sexy. It's just supposed to work, and it's really difficult to build a community about something that's just on a technical level supposed to work. But we don't have our own NFT collections. We don't really have our own kind of like fancy fantasy world. So for us, it's relatively easy to get games and partnerships on board because people see the value in terms of like what this can become as a layer. But it's a little bit difficult, I'll admit, for us to get people, saying, "Yay, you! This is super exciting. It's infrastructure." Yeah, I don't think we're gonna go into the direction of making our own NFT collection because, as I said before, we just want to be the bridge provider. But what we try to do is a lot with kind of just like going the route of education and tech, and thus convincing people to kind of like get on board and support. But I think when it comes to games, there's probably more valuable insights from Cross the Ages and Bit Brawl here on this.
Thank you, and I'm pretty sure that more and more people will join Style as a fan of the technologies, as a fan of and advocates of topics of interoperability and and more accessible usability of NFTs in the different worlds. And yeah, happy to ask Bit Brawl and Cross the Ages, what are your hints and what are your great tactics to unite the community, put them together, and make them excited about the upcoming releases and the games? Because, as you said, building a game is not a short process. And I see the big crowd of Cross the Ages and both Cross the Ages and Bit Brawl fans even on our spaces today. And yeah, guys, how do you feel about your community, and what's worked for you so far to keep them engaged, excited about the products and what you're building?
God is so complicated, Like I'm not gonna lie to you, Like this is not that like a magic that you can say to everyone like, yes, we are all together and like we're gonna do that together. This is not true. The thing is like the thing different between like the Web 2 and the Web 3 is about like opacity. In Web 2, like whatever you're gonna do, you do it alone, and like you don't have like this exchange that you can have, with the community where like the CEO, like the CTO, CPO, whatever, will talk to the community in the channel, Telegram, Discord, and this is good and bad. This is really good because it created a link, and like a very huge link, and like people feel themselves, dedicated and invest in the project. And this is just an awesome, thing. But it's also bad because it's changing like all the way of emotion. And like when sometimes it's not gonna be good, it's gonna be like destroying inside, where like it's not helping the project. So the way is to trying to find the best way to being able to always getting like to another level, and to being able to just onboard a maximum of people, and to create it like this kind of link. But like you always have to be like on the two way to be sure that you're going to onboard the maximum of people, being able to give like a straight like a good communication, and always being able to deliver. So this is not a thing that magic, and I'm not going to say that we are the best at doing that, but we're trying to do our best to being able to give like the support, and like to understood our community and being able, to answer to the maximum of question and being able, to deliver, since, this is what we're trying to do.
Amazing. Thank you, Sami.
Yes, I think it's my turn. I'm just waiting so that you can say go ahead. But basically, I think it again comes down to the game. When we created Bit Brawl, I didn't know anyone in Web3, and we needed to sell the NFTs to Bootstrap. So what we did was, I think our approach was great. Like, I'm not gonna be humble about that. Everyone was creating an NFT project at the time. It was summer 2021, and all of the roadmaps, I was reading the roadmaps, and all of it was, we will create a play to earn game because Axie Infinity was hot. So I was like, okay, these people don't know how to make a game. They're never gonna make a game. So why don't we just make a game that enables them to become characters in the game? And that's how I came up with Bit Brawl. And when you think about it, a lot of NFT communities have a beef between each other. Like, it's like penguins don't like apes or whatever. So I was like, okay, it should be a fighting game then, so you can fight with your, the community that you dislike the most. So that's why we took this approach. And I think, as Sami said, it's an attention economy. Web3 is really, really hard. If you don't tweet for a couple days, people move on. Like, a lot of the things happened in the last 2 weeks, people already forgot. So the thing with game developers is they usually are used to building for years without saying anything and then dropping the game. But now you can't do that. You have to build in public, actually. Like, you have to be showing everything to the people. And I think this is quite hard for most game development companies, but it's also a great tool, because if you have a good community, you also have a good feedback mechanic, because your people will tell you what they want to see in the game. And unlike traditional gaming, where people don't even know who you are for years before you drop the game, you can actually tailor your game to your community's needs. So if you can pull that off, and if you can actually involve them, they will be your number one fans and your advocates. So now that let's say you have a community of 1,000 dedicated people, they will go ahead, tell their friends, and tweet about it, and do some TikToks or YouTube videos about it, and they will be your marketers. So I think it's a great tool if you can figure it out. But I think in order to do that, you need like a solid marketer, and being a game developer itself is not enough. That's why I see a lot of great games by super cool studios, and nobody is playing the games because they couldn't figure out that attention economy of Web3. So it's a fine tune between that, and I think the key is to get your community involved and make them feel like they belong to you, and they also feel that sincere relationship between the game.
Yeah, great takeaways, Bit Brawl. I think that's a good one to say, that you can have the best game out there, but if nobody knows about your game, it's not going to bring you much. While you were actually speaking, we got a very interesting question from our audience, from someone, from a member called Andre J Corp MVX, and he was actually going back to the topic of NFTs and asks, do you believe that breaking an NFT in small components that you can put together in the platform would be a good incentive for new Web2 gaming users to onboard through on Web3 gaming? So yeah, he's basically just asking, if you were to break an NFT into small components that you can put together back on the platform, would that help with Web2 gamers onboarding onto Web3? Do you guys have any opinions on that? Leo, hands up.
Yes, if I may. So it's not 100% clear to me what is meant by that, but I will say this. I think generally fractionalization of NFTs are highly debated. I'm not the biggest fan, because I think if you fractionalize an asset and make it usable for multiple people at once, you kind of make it usable for no one at the same time, because then the whole ownership thing is gone, and it's kind of like a DeFi inflationary play, in my opinion. But I will say this: I think the ownership and the element of NFT and Web3 and on-chain is very good to get new people on board, because you can kind of combine things potentially and make them something that they haven't been before, with more people involved. So, example, you have I don't know, a couple of NFTs that are armor pieces, and then you can combine them with friends, and just by combining them, you all get a special new armor that is the combination of the pieces. For example, this is pretty cool. And also, I think the potentially to easily lend and sell peer to peer without having necessarily a centralized entity in between is gonna drive adoption once we get to a stage where the UI and the onboarding is a little easier. And I may phrase that complicated, but what I'm trying to say is, if you have, let's say, you're grinding in the game and you have a cool golden armor, and then you also have a cool sword, but you have two swords, and then you want to get a friend in the game, you can potentially just lend him for a period of time this really cool sword to get him excited. And this is something that you can facilitate a lot easier with Web3 and NFTs.
Bit Brawl, you also wanted to add something to this.
Yeah, a small thing. So I think this is useful for very highly priced assets. And I don't know if you guys know, but in mobile games over the past couple of years, there was this loot box system where you would complete a mission and you would get a loot box, and then you would get some legendary character shard from it. And like the first time I saw it, I thought I got a legendary character, and I was like so happy. And then I clicked on it, and it's like 1/50 pieces. So you need to get 49 pieces more to craft that legendary character. And I think this can be the case in Web3, where let's say you have 49 and you need one, and I sell you one so you can finally complete your character and have this legendary hero. I think that's a good application. Again, I think the goal of game developers is to prevent that, so that people spend more money in the game to try to craft it themselves. But that's what we're trying to disrupt here. So I think it's going to be a cool use case if anyone does that. I think it's a good application in card games specifically, maybe across the ages. Could apply that.
Yeah, looks like Sami agrees. Thank you so much, Andre, for your question. We always love questions from the audience. Peter, I think you actually had a question. Take it away.
Yeah, sure. We have like traditional and traditionalists in the since I believe the beginning of last year, that we on every our Twitter space we ask about the impact of AI on specific niche of the crypto industry. And of course we cannot not to ask you guys about how the boom of AI tools affect the crypto gaming or overall gaming industry in the future, or probably you already have some experiments with the AI integrating into your products. So really curious to hear your takes on the impact of AI on the gaming industry. Who wants to take this first?
I can try if you want. Oh, Leo, you can go ahead.
I have a very specific thing for us, so I can go ahead. For us, it's going to be very useful, because the infrastructure with the in-game asset requires a lot of 3D adjustments to different game engines that we want to be interoperable with, and all of the different worlds they're building. Unity, Unreal, maybe they have their own engine like Rockstar Games, and 3D assets as of right now, you can automize a certain element of putting them together. If you have all of the, let's say, traits from an NFT collection in 3D, you can assemble them. But when it comes to rigging and testing and making sure it's all smooth, there's a 100% as of right now still a manual element, and most likely will be for another 2 to 3 years. And everyone who tells you otherwise is definitely lying. But at some point, AI will get to the stage where this can be more and more automized, and for infrastructure such as ourselves, this is going to be amazing, and we're very much looking forward to that.
if we see like the evolution of the AI and how it's more and more implemented in the game, it's a real game changer. In our case, for Cross the Ages, we're using the AI, but like in different way. For example, we never used AI, for all the graphic Bible to generate cards, generate environment, and like absolutely all the stuff linked to the law and to the universe. So we work with like artists. However, like this is our case, but like it's not the case for everyone. And like it's not a question about good or bad, it's just a question about like feeling and taste. The reality is, if we check like many games, like the success of Palworld, they're using AI to generate like a map. And we will be stupid to just say no, we're not going to use AI. So today we're using AI, for example, for a part of PvE. So when we want to e-learning a machine, and like to allow the machine to become like stronger and better to play against a player, and like to help the player to progress into the game. So there are like multiple use case for the AI, but like this is sure that this is going to be like a very huge revolution on the gaming. And if you check what's happened, like we've seen that almost all the publisher announced like a end of contract of many people working as like with the publisher. So you have like a lot of people don't have like job anymore, and like the AI is replacing, unfortunately, the work of many people working in the gaming industry.
Amazing. And Bit Brawl, do you use AI in your game, or are you going to do so?
Yes, we're actually building a second game called Bit Brawl Kingdoms. It's going to be a Clash of Clans type of game with some RPG elements, so you'll be able to go on missions. So for our missions, we'll be using AI to generate the stories, and this way we will have unlimited options. You'll, as if it's like reading a book, you'll be embarking on a journey. So even if you don't like the fighting scene, you can just go do the missions. And I think we still need time, but it can also disrupt the art industry when it comes to gaming, because art takes a lot of time. Like Sami will agree with me, Cross the Age looks really cool, but making one card is going to be like a week. So you'll need hundreds of them, all hand painted. So I think this is what I'm the most excited for. People with the best imagination will actually put it on the game, and they will not spend a lot of time doing that. So as time goes on, we're definitely figuring out ways to add characters into the game using AI. Since we have different NFT projects playable in the game, we want to automate that with AI, because right now we're doing everything manually and it's taking a lot of time. But yeah, the second game is going to be more AI heavy, and it's going to be more fun because of the endless opportunities.
Sounds amazing, and you revealed some details about the next game, and and I want to give some space for you guys to announce some alpha, some announcements, what's coming next for all of your projects, what people should pay attention to, probably some insights for our listeners today. Who
Yeah,
wants to go?
absolutely. So we just announced our IDO on Bybit today. We're going to have an IDO next week on 28th, as well as listing. And we're going to be announcing another IDO platform tomorrow. So a lot of people will be able to participate. And when it comes to the game, it's been such a long time in the bear. We've kept building, so we built multiple games. So when we launched the token, our goal was to have the same token interoperable in almost all of our games. I mean, we only have one now, but we're adding two. But eventually, our goal is to have multiple. So one token to power them all. Everyone's having different. Everyone's having fun playing different games to their liking, because Bit Brawl is a competitive game. Maybe some people like casual games, so we're building those too, and we're expanding the IP this way. So same NFT, same token, multiple games. I think that's the way to go. I heard that Cross Stages is doing that too. So the power of it is going to come from the Brawl token, which is launching on 3 exchanges, one announced, and the other 2 will be announced very, very soon.
Amazing. Sounds really exciting, and we are looking forward. And Sami, Leo, do you want to share some alphas with our listeners today?
Sure, I can go ahead. Same here. Our IDO period is going to be early April, as it appears right now on free launchpads, with the exchange coming after. And if you want to get involved as of right now, we have currently a MVP page online, live for trial. If you go to the style profile account that's also here in the chat, the first tweet. Why I'm saying this is because you can connect an NFT of your choice and win the usage of this NFT in 3D applicable in different virtual environments for free by kind of just like participating and pre-registering this NFT. The NFT never leaves your wallet, of course. You're basically just verifying ownership, participating in the giveaway, and it can be turned into a 3D asset that can then be used in games such as Fortnite, Decentraland, Sandbox, Nifty Islet, and many more.
Congratulations for both of you for the launching of the token Bit Brawl, for the exciting news for you, Leo. We're gonna launch also our token in Q2. Soon we're gonna disclose like where it is gonna be listed. Very exciting part, and something that all our community is waiting. Also like to start like to push the pressure. We're gonna release 2 video in April. One is what is Cross the Ages, and like to trying to explain very quickly and to being able, to onboard anyone to our universe. It is a book, it is a comics, it is a movie animation, it is like what kind of game, and like to explain like how deep and is the universe. And the second one is a video of Arise. So this game that we're gonna showcase in Tokyo for Tokyo Game Show and release this year. So many people were thinking that we're not gonna be able, to release this second game, this open world, but this is gonna be released this year, and we are really excited, to have like the first feedback from the community, and to show them what we've built like for so long time and that we never disclose yet. So we really want, to being able, to release that before the release of the token, and to also being able, to show to everyone the kind of potential and the kind of second game that we're gonna create it. And as you know, Big Brawler was saying about one just like to in the Lord of the Ring, to being able, to have like the same money for all, the game. This is exactly what we expect. We really want, to create a real universe where like the token have utility, where people, will be happy, to being an owner of this asset, this token, and also to the NFT. And yeah, super excited, to be here, to being able, to talk about Cross the Ages, to being able, to share my point of view and to share experience with other CEO and founder of project. So yes, thank you very much for this time and for this exchange.
Thank you so much, guys. We definitely recommend everyone to keep an eye on all the announcements from all the projects. Thank you for joining our spaces today. It was really great to talk to all 3 our guests about this very important topic of gaming in Web3. As a reminder, we host Twitter spaces every 2 weeks where we either interview founders on one-on-one or have roundtables like this one and discussing wider topics with more guests. Make sure to follow all the projects on socials and keep updated on our Morningstar Ventures profile for the next sections. Thanks again, and yeah, see you next time.